What's up, guys? So I just want to say that I'm a big fan of gaming and I enjoy delivering content to you guys that take the time out of your busy day to watch my videos. So today, please bear with me. I am losing my voice, but I wanted to once again deliver some information that popped up on social media, and it revolves around the future plans that Xbox has for Activision after the deal closes. When the deal was first revealed, we saw fanboys on both sides of the console war do absolutely insane, crazy things and make even crazier statements. So on one side, we saw those that were completely upset that, Microsoft is consolidating the market. Sony can't afford it. Microsoft is just throwing their weight and money around, when Sony themselves have been throwing their weight and money around for years and trying to basically shoehorn Xbox out of the market like they did with Sega. And Xbox was able to push back with their wallet and their aggressive tactics when it came to world regulators, and now we see that in the end, Activision is going to be acquired by Xbox. That brings us to the fanboys on the Xbox console warrior side, those that thought Microsoft was just going to come in and scorched earth the PlayStation ecosystem and cut them off completely from all Activision titles, and that Call of Duty was going to become exclusive along with Diablo, Overwatch, and a large plethora of other games. And that couldn't be furthest from the truth, because at the end, there's a lot of money at stake here. We're talking almost $70 billion for Activision, and it would just be absolutely asinine to cut themselves off from that source of revenue that the PlayStation ecosystem generates with Activision games, especially Call of Duty. Now, when it comes to exclusives, that was one of the biggest things that the CMA made a big deal out of when they originally blocked the deal, and that was how Microsoft was going to gain a major monopolistic advantage over the cloud streaming market, especially if they made titles from Activision exclusive to things like Game Pass. That led to lengthy court battles taking place all across the world, with Microsoft battling the FTC out here in the United States and the UK CMA over in the United Kingdom. In the end, Microsoft was able to get one over on the FTC and win their court battle here in the US, which caused Sony to sign a 10-year agreement which only covered Call of Duty. And over in the UK, Microsoft inevitably decided to divest the cloud streaming rights for Activision titles to Ubisoft, who will then now distribute them to whoever wants to have them on any of their services. So this now leaves it in limbo on what exactly is going to happen to all of these titles, especially when it comes to services like Game Pass. So today on X, the social media platform formerly known as Twitter, Activision put out a tweet that says, "It's awesome to see anticipation building for Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3. As we continue to work towards regulatory approval of the Microsoft deal, we've been getting some questions whether our up-and-coming and recently launched games will be available via Game Pass. While we do not have plans to put Modern Warfare 3 or Diablo 4 into Game Pass this year once the deal closes, we expect to start working with Xbox to bring our titles to more players around the world, and we anticipate that we would begin adding games into Game Pass sometime in the course of the next year." Now, ironically, Phil Spencer also kind of made a statement around the same narrative in an interview over at Gamescom when it took place over in Germany. And that is the fact that no, Microsoft is not just going to sign the deal and reach over and flip the proverbial switch, and all of a sudden all these games are going to magically appear in about a second on Game Pass. No, I am not trying to be a Debbie Downer. I am trying to be somebody that helps keep people logically grounded in their way of thinking, because there's people on social media right now that are making these really cool posters and Game Pass looking stuff that just shows all these games are coming to Game Pass like almost instantly. And that is where I don't want to lead you down that path. This is going to be a large and lengthy process in getting these games onto Game Pass to begin with. And for starters, one of the big hurdles that Microsoft is going to have to overcome when it comes to Game Pass is, again, Ubisoft is now going to be in charge of distributing those games into services like Game Pass. and the CMA is going to implement an overseer, a watchdog, somebody that is going to make sure that Microsoft does not coerce or collude with Ubisoft and create favorable conditions for Game Pass that make it a superior product over the other companies that also want to use these games. This is something that cannot take place because they are going to have an eye kept on them to make sure it can't happen. So therefore, there is going to be games released in Game Pass and they have to have parity with the other platforms that also have them. So like when they appear on Boosteroid or even PlayStation Plus, there has to be a degree of parity that makes it look like it's an even equal playing field for the other services that compete against Game Pass. That is exactly what the CMA wants. Now, I know everybody's going to bring up the tweet from Jez Gordon where he was like, oh, according to the sources we've got, they're going to put games into Game Pass. Yes, they are. They're going to put some stuff in there, maybe not right away, maybe not within 5 minutes of signing the deal. You might see it take place a couple days or a couple weeks after the fact. But we're not talking like these big banger blockbusting titles that are current in today's gaming relevancy. We're talking like older titles. We might see like Tony Hawk Pro Skater 1 and 2, the remaster go in there, Spyro, some Crash Bandicoot, and some even other old titles. But there's also some other titles that, in my opinion, it would be great to see. Like, for starters, some delisted titles, like the Transformer games that Activision did. There's even a Deadpool game that Activision did that's been delisted. It would be nice to see not only these older titles get put into Game Pass, but also some of these delisted titles reappear not only in Game Pass, but also on the digital marketplace for me to purchase. At the end of the day, regrettably, it's going to be a cold, harsh reality for those that thought Microsoft was going to just come in and lay waste to the PlayStation ecosystem and make anything and everything they can exclusive, and that they were going to just shovelware it into Game Pass for everybody's enjoyment, when I feel that there is going to be a large uphill kind of political game of chess that Microsoft is going to have to deal with when it comes to dealing with the CMA and appeasing them, and also keeping the FTC off their backs. The FTC is currently on a witch hunt, trying to find any reason at all to somehow force Microsoft to separate themselves from Activision. And that's where, if by some chance Microsoft gives themselves an unfavorable monopolistic position or makes it appear that way, the FTC is just going to latch right onto it and drag them back into whatever court they can to try to force them to bend the knee to the will of the FTC. So again, Microsoft is stuck playing this very difficult game of political chess just to appease all the people that had this big issue with them buying Activision, which in the end of the day is quite ridiculous, at least in my opinion. Either way, this is a big win for Xbox. These titles will come to Game Pass, if not tomorrow, next week, sometime next year. But we will have a large amount of titles that are going to eventually make it into Game Pass, which is going to make Game Pass the premier service for gaming when it comes to anybody's, the value that you are being given in Game Pass is just mind-boggling. And at this point, I don't really think anybody is going to be able to touch the value that Xbox is offering in Game Pass, especially when it comes to putting titles day in, day in the service. I feel like that's going to be one big advantage that Xbox is going to have in the end when it comes to the future of the Game Pass subscription service. So everybody, that's what I just got to say on the whole situation. I hope you're just as excited as I am for what is going to take place now when it comes to Microsoft's plans for Activision in the future. To keep up with it all, please like, subscribe, comment down below, tell me what you're excited for, do everything that you can to help my channel grow when it comes to the YouTube algorithm. And obviously, please, I appreciate you for dealing with me today and just listening to me go hoarse while I'm talking. For those also really liking my channel, please check out the end card here, watch my latest video, explore my channel, check out the playlists, and as always, everybody, just play the games you prefer on the platform that you prefer, no matter what anybody says, especially when it comes to Activision titles in the future. I am Centurion1307, and thank you for watching.